First it was Executioner, now it's Aharen. Two shows, two very different shows, the same day, the same shoving food in another's mouth that is going to be memed into being innuendos involving other things. But that aside, this episode was fantastic, I have to say. I might even go as far to say the teacher might be my favorite part of the show as it stands, and we've had very little of Sensei out of the 8 episodes. I think she's only really had dominant screen time a couple of times here. But holy shit, the fact that we can out Raido. I mean, he himself admitted in last week's episode that, you know, he recognizes his imagination goes wild, and the shit that he comes up with from references to his own concoctions is fantastic. But the fact that this esteem, right, you know, this teacher is viewing this relationship to such an extreme that it makes her almost out fangirl the biggest fangirls because it's too adorable, it's too sweet, and she can't deal with the elegance. It almost reminds me of Spy Family with the teacher there, you know, it's so elegant. But the fact for her, it's esteem. And just to see how she tries to mentally prepare by imagining either what's gonna happen next, or in the case of her trying to go to sleep, she's imagining these like generic kind of anime stories like, you know, the idle pretty boy and her being the innocent girl no one will ever want to be around, but then there's the marriage thing, to even just the idea of like the delinquent Raido and her being almost on like the disciplinary council or whatever, and she's trying to help and it goes in for the kiss. Just the fact that she literally is like bleeding to death, and the fact of the matter is her friend, the other teacher, just the stuff she witnesses, like for her it's like, oh, she's not eating right, you know, she has a big health condition. And I mean, at this point, there's no arguing she has a health condition. The issue is that it's not actually a physical thing. It's all in her head, and she just is killing herself because it's too adorable. I wasn't expecting her to view it as a love triangle, though, but I'm glad she did because it was something that was absolutely hilarious and was an amazing added addition. But goddamn, this episode, man, had me rolling. It was just so good to see a character make Raido look tame. Because even though in her previous episode in the classroom there, she definitely was the extreme in said episode, just to see her not once but twice, whether it was the rooftop or the festival, it was incredible because it's not even like she directly interacts with them, she's just the observer. Even if they're very close in proximity, they don't even really acknowledge her, but here she is like basically bleeding out and dying. And the number of times, I swear to God, she almost did die was hilarious. Though as I've mentioned in a couple of recent videos, because honestly, this season of anime is so interesting because there's all these different shows that even if they share similar settings, the fact of the matter is they're getting to the festivals or they're getting to these other points that normally an anime would wrap up with its season, right? The episode 10, 11, 12 mark. But all these shows within the episode 6 to 8 mark are dropping their festivals, and it feels like we're like in this where the tide's turning, so to speak, right? Where what used to be the season finale is now the midway point of these shows, and now I have no idea how a show like this will end, because typically the lewdest of scenes, of course, hand-holding, would be how you would end something like this, but man, they're doing it right now, and it's kind of funny to think about, right? Because they're always clinging together, she's always like wrapped around his arm, but she got embarrassed by the simple act of hand-holding, which honestly, if you look at her clinginess, she's probably surpassed hand-holding for most people. But for her, it was like a way more intimate moment. But I like the kind of lost children scene because this girl has continued to, like, basically play Amber Heard here, you know, just trying to make it seem like, you know, he's the worst person ever. And I love the fact that he's still just so nice and he leads her to the kind of like lost kid plays. And the fact, like, there's this clearly a bond being brewed there. I don't know if she'll end up getting a crush on Raido or if it'll be more of like a big brother thing, but she's definitely starting to respect him more, which I really like. And then the fact of the matter is that's what kind of like triggers the whole like Aharen being super adorable, super clingy, but also starting to appreciate things she never used to because she never used to have someone who would let her rest on their shoulders because she was so small that she would basically be forgotten. The little things that can inconvenience you in life are things that I think are often underutilized in a show like this, whether it's being super short or being super tall, right? Just the fact of the matter is you could easily look and say, oh, you know, it's obviously maybe you can't reach for the cupboard the same way I can and you need to step on a chair, but it's not like it's going to ruin your life. But I love how they subtly remind us just how frail she was kind of like in the general world. She didn't have a very loud voice. She didn't stand out because she you know, you couldn't even see her half the time. She was in the back. So to see someone like Raido really come to her rescue and not like make it so she's incapable of doing anything by herself, but more so give her that confidence to do so many things. And the fact when she just physically can't interact with things, that's where he kind of like becomes her height, so to speak. Like, that's what I love about the two is like, sure, you get the teacher stuff, you get the over-exaggerated romance plot lines, but at the end of the day, it's just two really good friends who just feel so connected, and there is that underlining romance blossoming, but it's not overly in your face either. It's just something that screams wholesome while having such outlandish comedy moments that I never see coming. Like, I honestly forgot about the side friend there. I really did, because apparently she's just always hanging out on rooftops, or in the case of the classroom, under the floorboards. And the fact that no one even raises an eyebrow at that is just hilarious to me. But I did see a couple of people last week mention how they're really liking this, like, kind of like side couple who've been a little relevant recently. Like, over the past 3 episodes, they feel like they've had more screen time than any other, like, side characters outside of the main ones, of course. And I have to agree, like, they're definitely a fun addition because they constantly kick Raido and Aharen's ass when it comes to any sort of competition. But at the same time, they just kind of feel like they just naturally moved into the group without feeling off-putting or needing introductions, really, in my opinion. I really like that, because that's how friendships, especially in like a school setting, work. You know, yeah, you have your best friend and everything, but sometimes just naturally other people join into that main social group without even really asking or being annoyed that they're now a part of it just because you enjoy their company, right? But this show's great, man. I'm really enjoying it. I've said it for so long. It's one of my favorites of this season. And just when I think it can't get better, they up the ante with the teacher. And the fact that you can out Raido is something that you never would brag about if you are the person out Raidoing the Raido, of course. But at the same time, it's just so great to have a character be that extreme. And, you know, I think one of the funnier moments that have kind of been forgotten in recent anime memory is the over-exaggerated nosebleed. So the fact that we have a character who surpasses that with literally, she probably could donate blood so easily just because if she's already losing it, I mean, just have a bucket underneath you and help some people in need, right? But shit. And also that shooting game was so good as well, because honestly, even though I knew he was going to miss, I also wasn't expecting, like, in the moment he shot, I was like so prepared that, you know, of course, she would end up winning and he would just look like a failure. But I love how he blamed it on the gun. It's never him. It's the gun, or he has the wrong shoes on. But it's one of those, like, sore loser moments that doesn't feel annoying. It's just more so he loses so much, you kind of feel like it's okay if you make excuses because you do suck that bad. This is fantastic, man. I'm absolutely loving it. It is so wholesome. It's so hilarious. And it knows how to be spicy in a pretty wholesome way as well, which is pretty great. But thoughts if you have any. What did you think of the festival episode at episode 8? You know, usually that's the episode 10 to 12 mark. So how do you think they're going to wrap up this season now that usually the biggest kind of end season moment has already happened? Hopefully for me, like, you know, Carnival or even just like something, you know, super sweet / emotional would be nice for me. But thoughts if you have any down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.